Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory set. This just officially released at Target today. This is the Darius and Baryonyx Peril pack, aka the Leucistic Baryonyx, which is something that many people have been very excited about. But you can see the box art is pretty much what you would expect when it comes to Chaos Theory. Nothing too special there. Here on the back you can see again we've got the Baryonyx, the Darius, and the Monolophosaurus, and then down here a shot of two other sets that are out for Chaos Theory, both of which we have reviewed quite a ways back here on the channel. So let's pop the box open and check them out. So here we have everything now out of the packaging standing here before us, and I will say it's quite the interesting set from Mattel. I can appreciate them kind of going out and creating something a little bit different, but at the same time, when it comes to like capturing the likeness of the Baryonyx that you see in Season 2 of Chaos Theory, they didn't do a very good job. In fact, this doesn't really look anything like it if you ask me. So overall, when it comes to screen accuracy, not so good. But as far as the set goes, there's quite a bit included. So let's go ahead, actually, I guess we'll begin with the Baryonyx, because I would imagine that's what most people are probably interested in. So starting up here at the head sculpt of our Baryonyx, first of all, we have an articulated jaw, which I just now discovered. So that's a plus for the figure, at least. I think that's pretty cool to have an articulated jaw without any sort of like a gimmick or action feature associated with it. Sculpt-wise, the fine detail does look pretty darn good. Again, I expect no less when it comes to Mattel. They always have very impressive fine detail. The scale detail looks really nice. There's a good bit of variation to the scale detail overall. I do like the fact that this is a Baryonyx that is sculpted out specifically for this release. You can see it's quite a bit different compared to your usual Baryonyx, and specifically the eye area, again, is sculpted out to resemble the Leucistic Baryonyx from Chaos Theory, but the nostrils are also sculpted nicely, which you can see right here. And color-wise, there's not a whole lot to it, but there is a little bit. It has almost like an iridescence to it as far as this figure goes. You can see kind of like purplish tones and like brownish tones around the eye and almost like some orangish tones right there. So there's a bit of variation of color to the figure, which is nice to see, but still doesn't really replicate the way it looks on screen. Inside the mouth, you do have a nicely sculpted tongue with some nice texturing and some pinkish tones. The coloration does run there up onto the upper side as well, and you can see it here on the skin stretching. Nice gloss coat included as well. The teeth have that more updated look that Mattel has been giving a lot of their figures, which in turn makes the teeth look absolutely awesome on the figure, which I really quite like. They have a much sharper look to them, but they're still nice and soft, so they're not anything that anybody's going to get hurt on. They are painted with a yellowish tone, and the articulated jaw is quite nice. As we move down into the neck, you can see we have kind of like some osteoderms following along the spinal column and then down along the side of the Baryonyx, as well as that sort of almost armored kind of a look. But honestly, it's probably hard to really see because of the fact that this is such a brightly colored figure. It's going to kind of shine the detail away. There is continuing to be that kind of iridescent look to it. Again, the figure as a whole is like a white, but then there's this very interesting shine that you see on it, and you can see it popping up honestly with different shades of colors, but mostly I'm seeing like a purplish shine on the figure. We do have an articulated neck, which can go up and down, which is really fun. You can also go left and right, which is actually really cool. I definitely like that. And we can swivel, I think. Yes, so you can swivel it as well. It is very fun to have a Baryonyx that is just like a straight-up articulated Baryonyx that's not part of the Hammond collection. And honestly, I would say sculpt-wise, this one might be even a little bit nicer, like especially in the head sculpt with these updated teeth. I feel like this one would be a fun figure to repaint and actually give the look of the Baryonyx from Season 2 rather than the look that we have here with this very awkward paint job. But as you move down, you can see some muscle definition in the arms. You've got the elbows sculpted out, some nicely sculpted fingers, and in a very rare instance from Mattel, we actually have painted hand claws, and that is definitely not something you see very often. They have a nice shine to them, but the figure as a whole has a strong satin shine, so it's not really surprising that the nails would as well. But again, the figure, even if the paint job looks kind of weird, the actual fact that it has painted nails is definitely a massive plus, and they almost did a great job job, but we can very obviously see the dew claw is skipped when it comes to paint. And honestly, when I look at it from a distance and I actually kind of take a look at the fact that the nails are painted, like that dew claw sticks out like a sore thumb to me. But as you move back up into, well, we got to go a little further back because I don't think my camera's going to handle it being too close. But as we move up into the stomach, you can see the skin texture looks pretty nice. You mostly have like lots of creases and stuff as you lead back. We continue to have, again, that armored look up here on the back. As you move up, you almost see like a greenish tint to the back of the Baryonyx. We do, of course, also have the fax app code. So if you would like to add this one to your collection, there you go. And then as you lead down, you can see the muscle definition in the legs looks pretty good. You've got a few bumpy scales here and there. And again, the detailing looks pretty decent the entire way down. As you lead down into the foot, you've got some scoots moving down the toes. And again, the nails painted with that same sort of brown, almost like a golden brown that we have for the hand claws. But again, no dew claw paint, which is unfortunate. But the nails on the feet do have a gloss coat as well. And as far as the articulation goes in the arm, forward and back, you can't come out away from the body. Leg articulation, forward and back, also can't come out away from the body, but you do have swivels in the ankles, and there you go if you really wanted confirmation on that lack of dew claw paint. And then we lead back up in one of the worst areas of this Baryonyx. We have an excessively short tail, like almost Chap May short when it comes to the length on this one, which in turn also makes the figure kind of ugly. We do have articulation in the tail, which can go left and right and up and down, and then of course swivel. So you do have some fun articulation. Again, I also like I said, that it's just a straight up articulated figure with no action features. It looks like we should have, oh yeah, there we go. I was gonna say, it looks like we should have a swivel right there as well. So you've got another little spot out there. But I feel like the short tail is definitely a huge downside for this Baryonyx because it is obscenely short. Even, it honestly looks worse to me than their large Baryonyx that they had released not long ago, which I believe this one is the second largest Baryonyx we've had so far. But when you look at it from the opposing side, it's going to look pretty much the same, again, outside of the fact that the legs are slightly different as far as the positioning goes. There's the position they're meant to hold, so you can see how the leg is kind of leaning forward on this side, and the tail now curves away from us, but you're really not going to see anything different as far as the paint job goes. So it's interesting, I will give them that, but it might be the ugliest Baryonyx they've released so far. As far as the Monolophosaurus goes, even though we have a newer, updated version of the Monolophosaurus, we've now gone back to this older version, and I'm not really sure what's going on with this one, but the detail looks pretty terrible, honestly. Like, normally the Monolophosaurus has really quite impressive and vibrant detail, and although you can see some of the detail, it's kind of washed out for the most part moving through the figure. Like, at least more washed out than I'm used to. The detail in the legs looks alright, not really particularly impressive, but like the body is for some reason really washed out when it comes to the fine detail, which I find to be quite strange. I don't know why that would happen. Mattel figures usually have very impressive fine detail on their figures that is extremely vibrant, and even though you can't really take notice to it too well on the Baryonyx, it still does have vibrant detail. Articulation-wise, you have an articulated jaw. You also have an articulated neck with very limited mobility. Oh, that's pretty bad. Oh, man. Oh, there we go. So it was just really stiff. I was going to say, I don't know why it's not moving very well. So you have some decent neck articulation once you actually get it, you know, moving, and it was just very, very stiff. You can obviously swivel it. Arm articulation forward and back. Leg articulation forward and back. They don't come out away from the body. And then again, a swivel tail. Color-wise, it's pretty lackluster for this version. First of all, we've got a brown up here for the crest up here on the head of the Monolophosaurus. You also have a yellow eye, which does have a black pupil, which sometimes Mattel skimps out on, so that's nice. Unfortunately, we have, if I can get this mouth open, there we go. We have those gigantic, ugly teeth that we had on this Monolophosaurus, and I know that this is basically just a little extra for the set, but I really wish they would have revamped this one a little bit to have the better looking teeth that a lot of the newer figures come with, because it would have been a chance to improve this figure over some of the other ones. But inside the mouth, the teeth, again, those giant teeth that we have are yellow, and you can see the tongue is painted with a pinkish tone. It does have a nice gloss coat, and we actually do have the pinkish tone on the inside of the mouth on the upper side as well, which is nice because you don't always get that on these smaller figures. We have a light gray for the lower jaw, but then as you move down, that light gray is only in the lower jaw. You don't see it extend anywhere else. And then leading through the rest of the body, you have kind of like a grayish blue, and then you have a yellow that sort of stripes down along the side of the Monolophosaurus, and it does actually lead out into the tail a little ways. Not all the way, unfortunately. No painted nails, and that's honestly about it. That's about all we've got for this Monolophosaurus. It's kind of cool. There's actually a speckling, which I can see here and there, but it's kind of cool just to have another paint variant out for the Monolophosaurus, but I feel like there were some obvious upgrades that could have been given to this one to just improve it over previous figures, like the teeth, and also the detailing looking so muted on this is kind of strange to me. I don't know why it looks like that, but if you would like to add this one to your collection, there is the Fax app code for you to do so. Then, of course, the rest of this set would include our Darius figure, and obviously this is a Season 2 Darius. You can see he looks pretty good, definitely captures his likeness quite nicely as far as the way he looks in Season 2. His paintwork is pretty decently done. He's got some nicely painted eyes and stuff, or probably more so like a decal. We can see his eyebrows are painted out, as are his lips having a slightly different shade of color, or at the very least a gloss coat on the lips. We can also see his hair sculpted nicely and painted out as well. As far as articulation in the head goes, you can see left and right. Could all the way swivel if it wanted to, and then of course a little up and down. When you move down into his shirt, you can see the shirt also features some very nice fine detail. You've got kind of like some wrinkles and stuff. You also can obviously see you have midsection articulation where it can swivel, arm articulation out away from the body. Obviously forward and back can swivel. We have elbow articulation, which is definitely a little stiff, but there you go. And you can also swivel the elbow. And again, as you move down into his arms, the hands are sculpted pretty decently and everything. He looks nice as far as his fine detail goes. And then you move down into his pants, and obviously we have some more very realistic wrinkling and creasing here in his pants. Very nice paintwork for that as well, but there's not really a whole lot that's needed for it. And then moving down into the shoes, I think the shoes are probably one of the most impressive areas of this figure, because again, the paintwork is nicely done, but you can actually see his laces are painted out, and painted out really precisely, which is a plus, and that's not something you always see on these Mattel figures either, so that definitely helps to make this Darius a little bit better than some of the others. Leg articulation wise, you can see it's actually super stiff for some reason, like really stiff. You see it just starts to kind of fall back down. So forward and back, you can't really go back too far. That's about as far back, but forward is pretty decent, and then you have the ability to articulate the knee, and we can do our splits if we want to, and then obviously you can swivel the knee. This leg is like stuck. I don't know what's going on with this one. It's like just completely stuck in that spot. Like, look, it just keeps coming back out. So I guess I'll have to warm that one up and try to get that leg moving. I can't help it. It looks ridiculous because he keeps extending his leg out like that. But overall, Darius is a fairly decent figure. We also have some extras with him. First of all, we have like this little net launcher that you can see. And if we were to actually shoot that, you can see it works pretty nicely. Paintwork, we basically have like a red, orange, and then a gray. Some decent detailing on this piece as well. And then we've got one more little extra here, and you can see, again, actually impressive detailing applied to that one as well. So that's definitely nice to see. I'm glad that even though some areas of this set are kind of lackluster, other areas are pretty decently done. As far as a size goes, though, everything in this set we've got a pretty good idea of as far as a size goes, except for the Baryonyx. So, lengthwise for this Baryonyx, you're looking at about 14 inches, maybe slightly under 14 inches, or around 35.5 centimeters, and height-wise in the position it's standing about 4 3/4 inches, or a little over 12 centimeters, but obviously you can alter that by positioning it up higher. But for a size comparison, There is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A human being next to our Baryonyx, and you can see it's definitely got some decent size to it. Definitely a little bit bigger than your standard Baryonyx figures, but not by a whole lot. And for another comparison to further show you that, there is a standard Baryonyx from Mattel next to our Chaos Theory version, and you can see that they're actually kind of similar in size, with maybe just a little bit more body mass on the new version, but overall they're not all that far off as far as a size goes. Although I think the tail length on the older ones, even though you can't really see it right now, but the tail length looks a little bit better on those older ones compared to this newer one. But obviously, size-wise, they're fairly similar, with the Chaos Theory version being just a tiny bit bigger. So this brand new Mattel Jurassic World Chaos Theory Darius and Baryonyx Peril pack is kind of fun. You know, it's definitely a neat set in a way, but it's not anything that's mind-blowing. I feel like this Baryonyx was maybe a little overhyped just because it was something so different. So it was kind of exciting in the first place because it was something that Mattel hasn't released before and it was a bit different. But I feel like they didn't really succeed too well in actually creating this, because although it looks kind of neat and definitely would stand out in a sea of other Baryonyx figures that Mattel has released, it just really doesn't capture the likeness too well of what you actually see on the Baryonyx in Chaos Theory. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a downside as far as that goes. It's not surprising in a way because, you know, a lot of the times the Mattel stuff never really truly captures the likeness of what we see on screen too well, but it's just like, I wish it would have looked more like it does on screen. That said, it is a very nicely sculpted figure. It does have a lot of impressive fine detail to it, and with a solid repaint, I think it could look pretty awesome. The tail length is definitely lacking on the Baryonyx, but that's not really a surprise because a lot of the time the Mattel figures, in the main line anyway, have severely shortened tails. But the fact that it does have painted hand claws is a plus, but the fact that the dew claws, for some reason, only 2 more claws they needed to actually get it, you know, looking at least pretty decently painted. And when it comes to the claws, the dew claws are unpainted, sadly. But then we also have the Monolophosaurus. The Monolophosaurus is okay. It's definitely not one of the best ones we've had. It is the older sculpt, and also for some reason features kind of muted detail throughout, which, you know, causes it to be a little bit of a step down compared to some of the previous Mattel Monolophosaurus as well, but it's kind of an okay paint scheme, but honestly nothing really to brag about. We've also got Darius, who for some reason mine has a bit of a leg problem right now, but he's nicely sculpted, definitely nicely painted. I feel like the paintwork is really well done, especially considering how much paintwork we have in his shoes, but overall he pretty much resembles Darius from Chaos Theory quite nicely, and also again has a very highly detailed and nicely painted look. And then you also have some extras, which of course are fun as far as playability or display purposes, and the launcher definitely works quite nicely, which we saw. So overall, it's a pretty fun set, but definitely not anything that I can say is incredible. If you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can purchase this on Target.com, or you can, of course, purchase it in store. So one way or another, if you are interested, I hope you get your hands on it, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.